I feel like I spent the vast bulk of my life in a fog. I'd wander from place to place, bar to bar, gig to gig, friend group to friend group, hobby to hobby, bed to bed, thinking that I could appreciate the changes that were happening all around me and learning stuff. I mean, I was always learning stuff, but I didn't have a sense of time or perspective or connection with the world around me, at least in any meaningful sense. And I wouldn't have known about it at all if it weren't for the occasional spasms of lucidity. Every once in a while, I'd snap out of it and become intensely aware of the world around me. You ever read the novel Flowers for Algernon? It's really good. It's very short. What do smart people think about? Fancy things, I suppose. I wish I knew some fancy things already. And those moments where I snapped out of what I didn't even realize was a reverie, those moments of awareness were wonderful. I felt like I could burst out of my skin. I wanted to tell the world all the crazy, awesome thoughts I had in my head. I remember thinking, this is what geniuses feel like all the time. I'd read, I'd write, I'd pick up a guitar, I'd run around the block. I'd use the energy that was given to me. And then, like Michigan J. Frog, I'd sit back down and you'd never have known I was ever excited ever about anything. Ribbit. This story is partly about being a chronic procrastinator, partly about having ADHD that I'm only getting treated for now, partly about how you can put up with minor annoyances and major ones as long as you don't get too knocked out of joint. I don't have the luxury of working the way I work anymore. The way I work isn't working. I spent my life up to now essentially resigned to the fact that I would forever be ruled by my distractions. I would never be able to finish something meaningful or important. Hell, I consider it an accomplishment that I'm not homeless anymore, or I've managed to find a way to sleep indoors for most of my adult life. I mean, and so I decided to build my life around super small pieces of activity that were easy to start and would have some kind of completion point before my mind wandered off into the mists somewhere. Because that would always happen. I quit high school because I had nowhere to stay, and I started looking for things that would work for my brain because I had this huge expansive lifespan ahead of me, and I gotta do something. First, I tried comedy. I remember trying comedy. Punchlines were fast. If I can get to a punchline, then I can do a comedy. But you go to a few comedy workshops and classes, and you go to a lot of comedy shows, and you realize professional comedians are really fast and really funny and are devoted to their art and really working hard on it. And I wasn't horrible as a comic, but I'm glad I found out I was not a professional level comedian early enough that I didn't embarrass myself. So after that, I got into music. A 3-minute song? I could pay attention to 3-minute songs, sure. I can't play, I can't sing, but I could snark on people who did, and so I became a rock critic. That was fun. The thing about rock critics, though, you hang out with enough of them, and you realize that fully 90% of them, maybe more, just want to be on stage themselves. So, fast forward 5 years. I'm in a tour van with a few guys. We're playing every hole in the wall and saloon and barn dance and open field in the miles between Toronto and Vancouver. It was grim. It was tedious. But there was nothing else to do but get to the next town, get out, play your stuff, and get back in. And when you're not driving, you do a lot of reading and staring out the windows at the endless, endless flatland. You start to see the beauty in it. You start to feel the mythology of how big the world actually is. I wouldn't trade those years for anything. Part of me misses them even as I'm saying this, but even with what's happened since and what's yet to happen, whatever that is. We moved to New York. Well, I did anyway. The rest of the band came, saw the scene here, and noped back to Toronto, which, fair enough, but NYC is the first place I've ever felt comfortable. Leaving the only city I ever knew confirmed something, though. The fog that I was talking about earlier, that fog, it came with me. It wasn't Toronto. The scramble was coming from inside the house. Everywhere I went, my head came with me, and I had to deal with that. I wrote songs for a while longer, and I temped, and I got some really cool jobs, and I got some really not so cool jobs, but I temped. And then I started hosting trivia one day a week, and that was fun. Trivia questions are shorter than songs even, and they don't have to rhyme, and you don't have to deal with drummers. It was a step up all the way around. And then I got on Jeopardy! And then I got a little popular, and then I got on Millionaire, and my stock in what was still a relatively new industry started to rise. But the fog was still there. It took an extreme event, like being on TV or hosting a quiz in front of a big crowd, to shake it loose for a little while, but then I'd be on the train home, and back it would come. The fog would just come back on little cat feet. I managed to get married to a really accomplished, amazing person. I honestly have no idea how that happened. I've been awful to the people around me my whole life. Neglectful, short-tempered, a snotty know-it-all who couldn't let basic drama go. I'm going to be apologizing to everyone I know for the rest of my time on this earth. This fog, it's just an inability to focus on a task or on anything. The only things I can do in this fog are things that don't require my attention. Some cleaning, watching passive entertainment, that national pastime that has existed for decades that finally has a name, doom scrolling. In the last 15 years, by my reckoning, I've written well over 100,000 trivia questions for various outlets. And I've hired some great writers who've created that many questions again. It's the first career I've ever had where I wake up in the morning and think, yeah, I can still do this. But even this isn't addressing the fog. And now I have another reason for trying to find a way through it. Meet Felix. He just turned 7 months. He's a great kid. He's fun. He's inquisitive. He learns tons of new stuff every day. He's fully transformed from being a newborn into a baby. And you can see toddlerhood not all that far off. And after that, he'll be a kid for a bit. And then he'll start adolescing. And then he'll go off to college around the time I turn 70. That's what late bloomers get. This is my life. This is a man in full. So I need to kick this fog or find a better way through it. Days can disappear, and do, even now. I lose track of important things all the time. That can't happen anymore. It was one thing when it affected just me, but now I have a family, and I can't have something important, wither on my watch. I can't just shrug and step out of the wreckage of a mistake I've made and leaving my friends or my credit rating or my reputation in rags in the gutter anymore. I realize now that what I thought was my last resort was actually a luxury. I'm sorry. This channel is about me finding a way through that fog. It's happening. It's got to happen, but it's happening.